All right. Hey, good afternoon, folks. Once again, we are back taking a look at the tropics. Today is Monday, June 17th, 2024. This is your afternoon video update on our two Atlantic systems here this afternoon. We are still tracking Invest 91L, now tagged by the National Hurricane Center, our broad area of low pressure in the southern Gulf of Mexico. This is all going to slowly wander northwestward towards northern Mexico and potentially some of southern Texas, with it becoming a lot of tropical moisture that's going to bring big rain to the Lone Star State. And we also have our little area we're curiously watching to the east of the Bahamas. This stalled frontal boundary likely to become a low pressure system as it moves back towards the southeast coastline. But we have had some changes in the current forecast predictions for that. We'll get to that after we talk quickly about 91L. We're not going to spend a ton of time on either of these today because neither of these systems look like they're going to be super impactful for the eastern U.S. So Hurricane Center's map this afternoon, 70% chance on our area in the Gulf forming up in the next 48 hours, just 10% in the next 48 hours on our system out in east of the Bahamas. So again, this one looking like it's getting itself together. Visible satellite presentation this afternoon does show some organized thunderstorms. It's been producing them all throughout this afternoon, kind of in fits and starts, something we typically see with weaker tropical systems working themselves together. Does not appear we have a closed circulation center yet. We have kind of broad cyclonic rotation beginning to tighten up a little bit. We have some evidence of a little bit of bands trying to work in. So we have a few bands, we have the moisture, and we have kind of an elongated area of low pressure on the surface. But hurricane hunters in there this afternoon, first plane took off today, are seeing 35 to 40 mile an hour winds, but they're seeing them way out here when the low pressure system is likely trying to develop down here where all the actual thunderstorms are. Over here, where they are right now on this map, is where the high pressure to the north is creating that tight squeeze between the low and the high. But you don't get to count winds, 100 miles away from your low and say, oh, look, it's 40 miles an hour. I have a tropical storm. Doesn't really work that way. You got to have these kind of winds begin to move in and start wrapping around this low to get an organized weather system. Otherwise, you just have basically a nor'easter that's hot. It's basically all this is. So, can't call it Alberto or anything yet. Still AL91, still just an invest, but it is working on it, and it looks like it's got some check marks and some signs. It is starting to develop, and it looks like at this point this is probably going to become our first named storm of the 2024 season as it moves northwestward. Now, computer model is kind of out to lunch here today. GFS shows some crazy other storms spinning up out of nowhere at the northern edge of this circulation and then moving into Texas, and then the big low moves in behind it. I don't know what the GFS is smoking this morning, but I want some of it. Not going to worry too much about that. But again, you can kind of see this broad low just kind of like lurches to the northwest and then it just kind of buries itself in northern Mexico, which it looks like that's going to happen. This is a very, very strong high pressure that's going to be ridged in the eastern U.S. this week. Big heat dome, big high. And this looks like as anything tries to move north, it's just going to get just flattened by this ridge and just get forced off to the west. Euro, kind of the same story. Doesn't even really develop it. Just kind of shows this big mess moving northward and moving in. But I want to stress that, this is a big fetch of winds. And this brings a lot of moisture with it. So even though we're not talking about anything amazing in terms of winds, this is going to probably be a broad, disorganized mess if it even gets a name. Still a lot of rainfall coming for parts of the Texas coastline, 6 to 10 inches in a wide swath. Some stamps already above 10 inches in some cases, Corpus Christi, Rockport, there's some areas down here that could get a lot of rain. WPC 7-day precipitation here showing almost a foot of rain coming for some folks, and excessive rainfall outlooks going into what looks like Tuesday and Wednesday. At least 40% chance of flash flooding in this region, and moderate on the red here being the second highest the WPC issues. Definitely not going to be a joke, and I caution in Texas that we don't need a hurricane to get tremendous amounts of rain. Storms like Allison and like Imelda and other storms like that have produced a ton of rainfall in Texas without being named or really being very strong storms. So don't discount the sloppy and weak signal from the models wind-wise with the potential for the heavy rainfall for Texas and, parts of Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, all going to have some tropical moisture downpours throughout the week ahead. So keep that in mind in that region, and, stay tuned to local forecasts. Our more statistic/dynamic sort of models are getting on board, showing that landfall almost universally in northern Mexico, but these are early. We're going to give these a few more runs to cook, and all our anticipation models right now, including some reliable ones like the ships, all showing the potential for a tropical storm in the next couple of days. So it does look like we're going to get at least a minimal 45 knot tropical storm out of this. All right, let's go over to the system in the Atlantic Basin. This is still nothing right now, not tagged by the National Hurricane Center, just a stalled frontal boundary hanging out in the Atlantic Basin. However, it is being cut off. The jet stream is beginning to lift away from this, and a low pressure center is going to be left behind as this jet stream cuts off. Once it's cut off, it's going to be able to start meandering back to the west-northwest, caught up in these winds around the high. So same big high pressure that's going to push this into Mexico is going to push this along towards Florida or potentially the Carolinas. So I told you guys we had some model changes from last night, and the signal has fallen off pretty quickly. So this is the European model. We'll back it up to Tuesday and Wednesday, and the Euro still showing some disturbance, but just a broad trough. I mean, going even into late Wednesday, early Thursday, just an open trough axis, no closed low, no tropical storm, no tropical depression, just a big trough moving along near the Bahamas. And then even into Friday when the 6Z run ends, just showing that broad trough axis just kind of wandering towards the southeast. And in this case, all this would really do is just enhance winds and maybe some rainfall, but definitely nothing organized, strong, or scary. And the GFS models, we back it up, does have a little bit more of an indication of a closed low, but it's already kind of showing that. Like if we go back to the 18Z run, which is currently what we're seeing, the GFS already thinks this is some kind of at least tropical depression, it looks like on this map, and it's not. So if it shows it developing from here, we have to account for the fact that the model's already kind of misunderstanding what's out there given what we can see. So it does bring some kind of organized storm along, but it's much further north than the Euro operational run is. And now we're up towards like South Carolina and Georgia. And then by late week and Friday, Saturday, it just kind of wanders near the coast as some kind of depression or storm. But I want to show you guys the ensemble members of the GFS and the Euro. So this is GFS ensembles. And this is like a multi-run guess using the GFS data. And it's showing a lot less signal than it did yesterday. Pretty much every ensemble member had the storm yesterday, but with varying intensity and spread. This is showing very few members see it at all, and the ones that do see it aren't seeing a very strong storm at all. Euro, same boat. Many members have left the station completely on this. The few that are left are basically showing a minimal tropical depression, maybe a minimal tropical storm, but very weak, very sloppy, not well organized, not very threatening, and overall not that bad. So I want to leave you guys with one more thing here as we look at this. As far as the actual tropical potential, let's just watch it. The models are already backing off on it. We'll see in the next 2 or 3 days how it progresses, but given this setup, I don't anticipate anything strong. Even if the models kind of recorrect back towards what they saw yesterday, I'm not expecting anything very strong out of this right now. But I know a lot of folks in Florida have been asking about the rainfall. They're like, well, hey, South Florida got all this rain. We're dry as a bone up here. I mean, it's drier than a popcorn fart. What's going on? When's the rain coming back? And boy, right now, it doesn't look good. This is the GFS mid-level moisture here over on Tropical Tidbits again. And look at all this mid-level dry air over you guys Monday into Tuesday into Wednesday, even into Thursday and Friday. As the storm system kind of approaches the region, it's still a lot of mid-level dry air. And this is all part of that big high pressure over the eastern U.S., just pumping that drier air down in the mid-levels. And although your low-level winds will be coming in off the water and have some moisture with them, if your mid-levels are that dry, you're just not going to sustain a whole lot of rainfall, or you may have some storms, but they also may kind of pop up and die off pretty quickly. So this doesn't mean no rain the next couple of days, but if we look at some of the forecasts, European model through basically the end of the month shows maybe a half inch total if you're being generous, and the Prediction Center official 7-day rainfall forecast. The actual one from the National Weather Service only showing maybe half an inch to an inch across the area. You will see a good amount of wind with the system as it approaches. I bet the coast will be quite windy. The temperatures will actually not feel terrible for this time of year, given that strong onshore flow. You're going to be protected from any kind of horrific heat, waves or whatever, but it'll be humid. And right now, rainfall looks pretty scarce. So hopefully those models will change. Hopefully that little system might get up enough to get you some extra rainfall. But I wouldn't be banking on it right now. It looks like it's not going to be that great. So just keep an eye on the forecast. But as it stands right now, our system in the Gulf, again, going to hit Texas or northern Mexico. A lot of rain coming for Texas. Most of the wind, if any, will probably stay towards Mexico. But that's going to be a pattern for the next several days. This background low will kind of hang out a little bit longer. So we'll have to see if any kind of follow-on activity moves up into the Gulf late month. And then this little guy is just going to kind of wander back, could get named, but right now doesn't look like a tremendous threat. We will be tracking it this week if things change, though, so stay tuned for that. So that's what I got for you guys this afternoon. As always, thanks for watching, and have a good one.